All right, welcome back again for another episode of the Top Corner Football Podcast. I'm your co-host, Julian. The other co-host is the crazy man who thinks that West Ham's still going to get top six. He's my favorite Cameroonian because he's the only one that I know. Jordan, how are you doing, Jordan?
I am great. West Ham is still going to be top six.
Top four. Top four.
Not four.
Go ahead and lay it out there.
But six. I can get behind six. But I would say this, though. I feel great, and we're going to have a good show today.
It is a pretty interesting show. We got some good things to talk about. Less on the matchup, some interesting things in the news going around. What do you want to kick off with?
Well, guess what? Pogba verdict is out, right? So I think he was finally found guilty of doping. And
yep, it is official.
Yeah, it's official. So we don't know how much year ban he's going to get, but... Yeah. I don't want to think 4 years will be appropriate. I've never heard of 4 years before in my life. So I've heard of 9 months. And there was a player that was banned for 9 months. I don't remember especially the name, but I've never heard of 2 years still.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they give 2 years, that might just be a way to set an example. But Juventus cut out his salary, so he's getting paid minimum wage. So
I saw him getting paid. Well, he's not getting paid minimum wage for a footballer. Yeah, he's getting paid what, $40,000 a week. Something ridiculous like that. Yes. I mean, which is still a crazy amount for us, but for what was contractually obligated in the arrangement, he's getting paid.
Well, minimum wage in their world is minimum wage for all football players. So they have a minimum. So that's kind of what he's getting paid.
So here's a question, because you're actually a little bit more up on this than I am. How much time does he need to have off before we can really just start to say like his career's done?
Oh.
Because I still think 9 months is fitting. I'm not saying it's too much for the punishment fits the crime is what I'm saying. But he can't spare that time, can he? Like he needs that. Like 9 months for him is very important because he has been on the underside of his career for years now. Yeah, and that 9 months matters a lot when you're trying to dig yourself back up.
Yeah, that I don't know, but I feel like it's gonna be really tough right now because he's 30 years old, and usually when you hit that 30 years old, that's the. I would say the average of your prime is usually 24 to 27. It can extend to 30 now due to the fact that a lot of players have longevity now. So, but I would say it will be really tough to come back at 31 years old.
Very much so.
Every single day the game is changing, the game is evolving. So coming back at 31 years old, playing at the level of football that we expect Pogba to be playing, it will not be possible unless he gets picked up by a small or average team where he could just be kind of like a mentor. Oh, guess what? He could do good, But I don't expect him to be playing at the top levels in the top clubs.
So what age do you think the prime is now?
Really, the prime right now, back in the days, when you hit 30, 31, you were considered kind of done, Right. But nowadays, with the extension, with the extension of everything, medicine, with the discoveries and the new ways of playing and everything, people hit and extend, new diets and everything. You have players playing their prime at 30, 31,
Yeah, I feel like 27 to 29 especially is where it's a perfect 3-year window where your body has yet to decline.
Yeah.
Like it's about to. And we're not saying that it's not.
Yeah.
But mentally, you're at your best. It's that perfect window where you are mentally superior and your body is still at its peak right before it's about to start steeping off a little bit.
Yeah, because when you look at the Nedved in 2003, these guys started declining at 30, 31. You look at all your greats back in the day, the Ronaldinho's, the Deco, although they would say, they weren't disciplined enough, but that was kind of the standard back in the days. But right now, you have a lot of players playing great football at 33. Even in the top team, you look at Kyle Walker, 33. And he's getting a renewal extension playing at City, top level.
His play style has changed as well because he's still lightning fast. I'm not saying he's
which is crazy especially for a right back.
Well, and honestly, that shows how fast he is because everybody starts to lose pace.
Yeah.
And if you are an absolute speed freak, you still lose pace, but at a certain point, like when Alphonso Davies is 31. He's still going to be insanely fast. He won't be as fast as he is now, but you can see Kyle Walker's play style changing. He has more of the mentality now, and like I said, he's still incredibly quick, but he's having to think more as a captain,
Yeah.
as a chance creator, as a distributor of the ball, rather than just I'm gonna run this thing down your right wing all day, and you're gonna want to die. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see that Pogba could be missing on that last bit of the ability to physically maintain. But I've never been really too impressed with his mentality either, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't think he is. He didn't have that. What we call it, the Mamba mentality. You know. He didn't have that. He wasn't. He didn't have the crazy work ethic of Cristiano Ronaldo. Although he was a great player, but for me, the best Pogba was a lot of people would say 2018, but for me, especially, would be more 2015 Juventus, because when he burst out in the scene, it's like, oh man, this is the guy. I absolutely love when he played there. Although 2018 was like the peak of like the demonstration of how Pogba is good on the field. Yeah. But for me, 2014-15, that was the best Pogba.
Because everybody wants to talk about the insane World Cup winning French squad.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's interested in being. He wants to be the best player in the world, but he doesn't want to be the best player on a team.
Yeah.
He wants to kind of, if he doesn't have a great squad around him, he doesn't seem to want to try that much.
Yeah.
He's not interested in digging the team up, kind of being that leader. He does seem like he wants to kind of just jack around in the locker room and make funny videos and then be.
You want to make TikTok.
Yeah, like, and it's such a weird dichotomy because he wants to be on a great squad, which he was, and he won trophies for that. And he wants to be a great player. You can because he has the confidence of it. But when it comes down to showing it, he's not really interested in doing that. And
it's weird because I feel like it's most of the new generations of players where they don't really. It's not about the heart. Not all of them, obviously, but most of them. It's like Miroslav Klose. This was a German player. He just said something very interesting. He said nowadays the state of football he doesn't care for right now. Back in his day, people really wanted to play. They had this they wanted to prove every day, every single week, in and out. They came to play. It was more about the heart. It was more about football. But nowadays, kids are more concerned if their socks goes with with their boots. So it's more if the colors matching. So
back in the day, you'd play with a fractured toe. You'd get drunk on the weekend, smoke a cigarette at halftime.
You come back and you prove your worth. The things has changed so much. But on Liverpool's side, or rather on the Premier League side, due to the fiasco that went on Liverpool against Tottenham, the VAR rules have kind of changed, where the VAR assistant and the VAR and assistant have to be on the same. They have to confirm and they have to be on the same page before they give the answer to the referee on the field. So that would kind of avoid what we're seeing or of a rule of something that's not offside or a goal. But I just think that's not worth it.
It's a complete mess right now, and it's one of those conversations that I personally don't like having. I don't like the whole VAR conversation. But if you want it short and simple, like, it's not working. Just get rid of it. You're already removing half of the referee's job.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a technology that was supposed to overcome the human error.
Yeah.
But there are humans still using the technology that then provide the human error in what should be considered a perfect system.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a different opinion on it. It's like we're going back to basics in terms of people debating over foundational rules of the game because VAR is creating such wacky decision making.
Yeah.
To where you can't get a single. It's almost like you can't get two professionals or two amateurs to agree on the same thing. It's not even really like a clear and obvious issue.
Yeah.
You have guys that have played at the highest level that disagree on this thing. It's not that it's a. Well, you didn't play the sport professionally. You don't know what you're talking about. No. Like, it's so messed up and it's so pulled all over the place, and no one, regardless of your experience, can really make definitive answers anymore. And that in itself was the whole reason that this thing was introduced in the first place.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm low 50-50, just in the sense that you can catch a lot. Oh, the one thing that I would say, are we gonna remove VAR on offside? Because we can let it be on every other aspect of the game, but what about the offside rule, or just offside in the general sense? Are we removing VAR and we just leaving the referee just like it was back in the days? But I feel like those days are long gone unless the football world has some sort of real discussion about that, and we can crunch the statistics and see how many games have been aired out or spoiled due to VAR, as versus how many games were spoiled due to just normal human error when refs were just.
It's really bad when your VAR decision making is so bad that there's an actual possibility of games being replayed.
Yeah,
like it was a genuine conversation at the high level of we almost can't let the decision stand because of how many errors that VAR was involved with during the Tottenham Liverpool game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Let's
on the side of La Liga, this weekend we had interesting game, of course, games, but one thing, La Liga, it's really, really interesting right now to the fact that we have a lot of young players in there
playing very
well. I'm talking about highest level of football. So, Lamine Yamal from Barcelona was the youngest goal scorer in La Liga. So, in the history, I think he was the youngest player selected by Spain.
Yep,
the youngest player playing at Barcelona and youngest player scoring for Barcelona
at 16 years and 83
probably
days.
In La Liga too.
Yep, so like freshly turned 16 as well. Absolutely ridiculous, completely absurd.
So,
and then you have Jude Bellingham on the other big club.
Yeah,
just tying and running soon to run away with, you think, these goal records in
10 goals, 10 games.
Yep.
So that's
tied with Ronaldo.
So
and he was beneath one person, Stefano.
Alberto Di Stefano.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, absolutely absurd at the age of 20. It's just it's the goal scoring spell doesn't seem. I mean, it's going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it doesn't feel like it's going to, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, like it and it will. But you don't see any tapering off of when that could be. When will it be when he's spread really thin in the Champions League?
Yeah.
Will it be that he just maybe doesn't show up in the Clasico?
Yeah.
I don't know, but then I can also see a 93rd minute goal winning
from him.
Yeah. Piece from him. I see that.
Yeah, I can see that too, just because of one thing that I have come to my understanding of Jude Bellingham's football is the fact that he understands positioning very well.
Yeah.
For such a young age, 20, I mean, to get to that level of maturity, calm when he's playing. His football is not hostile, it's not agitative, it's really calm, composed, getting the his self-awareness is like 50-50, which is really interesting because he gets away with it. So I feel like he kind of understand how to deal with. So I can see that. The only thing I can probably see on the flip side is Real Madrid might still be exposed to the fact that, hey, because it's good when they're scoring, it's good when they're winning, so they can fall in sleep and say, it's all fine, we don't really need the strikers. But in big games where the intensity is high, where we don't have much opportunity created, and when we have opportunity created, we have to convert, then becomes the question of having a real striker will arise.
Yeah.
Do we really need it?
They seem to be getting away with Joselu coming in as like a quick kind of like taping over the fact that Karim Benzema left.
Yeah.
And one more thing about Jude Bellingham, because you said it, like he's not a very finesse-driven player. He makes very simple moves. He just makes them at the exact right times. And I see people debating online. They're like, what? I believe he cuts inside. He does like a little 1-2 into the box and puts the ball in the opposite corner, and it's like it's a great move.
Yeah,
great goal. And there was a debate. You had some people going like, "What absolute skill from Bell?" And it's like, yes, it was a very skillful move. And then you had some people that were like, "It was just a one-step move, like diminishing the value." It's like, no. You're both kind of overthinking this. He doesn't need to do a rainbow flick over the top. But he did more than just one step inside.
Yeah.
He's positioning himself absolutely perfect. He's making very simplified but very polished, well-rounded moves.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very difficult to stop, because if someone's very skilled on the ball, you high press to keep that, because like you can see when Neymar is really shut off. He's a master dribbler, but it's kind of easy to shut him down if you figure out what his tendency is to do.
Well,
and then if someone is not very skilled in the ball, you can pressure them in a different way and really keep them from just being able to move the ball forward. They have to horizontally pass and really shut down the avenues.
Yeah.
With someone like this who is neither of those things and is just able to find these spaces naturally, it's you almost can't shut that down. That's a genuine question. It's like when is that goal scoring festival that we have right now, the festival of Bellingham, when is that really going to stop if he's playing this way? It's very hard to counter.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the thing about it, his football is simple. His football is direct, so it's pretty difficult. He doesn't second guess himself. There are players that are really technical, but that overthink. You can see the outcome. You have Sterling. When he's overthinking, you can see directly he loses the ball, or he's trying to do too many extra moves. You have even Neymar, which he's considered to be the best dribbler, but he does lose a lot of balls when it comes to the fact times when he overthinks the play. So
it's skillful dribbling, but it's also wasteful dribbling.
Yeah. One thing I would note though, Camavinga, exceptional work rate. I mean, this guy is amazing. I saw him playing. He at some point he dropped in the middle. At some point he dropped CDM. At some point he went back on the left side. He was playing.
Yeah, and I mean he does make, and I said this last time as well, he makes some mistakes.
Yeah.
He's not perfect, but because his work rate is so high, he can recover from those mistakes and keep Madrid from really having to pay for them. Yeah. But he does kind of get lost in like when he does move into the midfield.
Yeah.
And if you think that I'm wrong, tell me. But I do feel like we have.
How do they know you're wrong?
I do think that we have slightly different opinions on him. I think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's very young. I do see him kind of seem a bit overwhelmed on that left side sometimes.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly where to be, but again, he's kind of like Yamal in that way, where like when the bit of skill or the bit of experience isn't quite there, the luck and the work rate bail him out of the situation. I think that. What do you think of Tchouaméni at center back?
He did his best. It's not his position per se, but he tried his best and he was really as effective as he could be. But for someone that's not a natural CB, just
but neither is Alaba, to be fair, and that's kind of who he was covering for.
Yeah, but the difference with that is also you have to play with fitness. That's the difference. Also, physicality. He's more physical than Alaba, and even just the fact that he's youthful than Alaba, so that's probably what makes a huge difference than Alaba. Because really, Alaba is really at his best when he's playing fullback. Yeah. But with the loss of pace, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, well, and even Tchouaméni, and I saw Ali Mourinho try to say it was a bad pass, which made me laugh my ass off. In the 70th minute, when Joselu scores that goal. That was laid off from Vinny Jr. You know that one? That crazy deep ball from Tchouaméni. Yeah. That's laid right down at Vinny's feet. He turns his back to goal, kills the ball dead, and I guess because he wasn't able to bring the ball down in the middle of a run. Ali Mourinho said that it was a bad pass, but really, he put it right in front of him with his back to goal. With two defenders behind him, if he had sent it over the top, they would have intercepted the ball, and it would have been the end of the play. But he kills the ball down, and he flicks it out to Joselu, and like I was like, holy shit, what a pass from Tchouaméni. And he goes, not the greatest ball from Tchouaméni. I was like, what are you watching? And don't get me wrong, I mean, he has way more experience than either of us, but it was very funny. That's like, how is that a bad ball?
Yeah, talking about that same action, it's very interesting because how'd you call him? Vinicius Junior. He understands timing perfectly. He waits for the perfect time to send that, to assist Joselu coming from his left. And until then, he covers a little bit, try to wait a third second, a little bit late before he sends the pass. That's just amazing in terms of football IQ.
And that's not even Vinny Jr.'s skill set. I mean, like, he can do it, but that's not what he's known most for. So he's playing kind of out of his skill set in that moment, kind of improvising, and I mean that ended up with a great goal. But I mean, ultimately the result of this match was expected. Like, there's nothing more to say about that, really, except for, that first half was a bit unconvincing. You're right. Like, they really have a problem, Madrid do, of starting slow.
Yeah.
They really do start a little too slow, and they missed some chances. Vinny still skies a lot of shots.
Yeah.
He needs to keep him down a little bit. And Ucelo put a couple of shots wide as well. It could have realistically been more than 4-0 at that point. And I feel like Kepa, he's almost 50-50 with moves that impress and then moves that look scary in their ability to result in a conceded goal.
Yeah.
He's definitely not as composed as I think someone that's covering for Courtois needs to be.
Yeah.
But how good is Valverde? Again,
Valverde.
I think he's probably the most underrated player.
Yeah, at that team. Well, one thing I would say, I have 4 players that just that their work rate and work ethic was just amazing on the stadium that day. You have Tchouaméni, Bellingham, you have Camavinga, and you have Valverde. These guys were everywhere. And for those that didn't even will look at the game and say, hey, Bellingham played in essence as a attacking midfielder. Yes, he did. Or you say, oh, probably as a second goal scorer. No, he did not. Because when you look at his heat map and you look at the game, he was always dropping deep and to come and assist, So that wasn't what he did. And for my friend here, I don't think Camavinga has a problem on that left back. It just depends on if on that left. It depends where he's at. If when he's in the middle, you can tell it's really difficult to get to that side when he's in the middle of the stadium. Actually, it's only when he drops to help, or because he doesn't have those natural instinct of being a defender, where it becomes problematic. But one thing he does recover is the fact that he puts a lot into his play. So you will see him almost like a pit bull. You will see him everywhere, which is crazy because he's not even that fast. But that's just to say he understands the appropriate time, the timing, and the run. So that
sometimes he does clatter into players, and against like world class sides, that could end up being a bit of trouble. But ultimately, and it's not a knock, people.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in quality in leagues across even just Europe. Playing these lower end of the table sides in Spain.
I mean, it kind of shows.
I don't see him having a lot of trouble with recovering from things like that.
It kind of shows, even like with Atletico Madrid, it kind of shows. So it depends on
further down the line, the farther that they get in the Champions League, the more that you're probably not going to want to see him in that left back spot.
No,
it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but you're definitely going to want to see someone that's natural skill set is there. Probably Alphonso Davies, realistically.
Yeah.
Which that's also in the news of just.
Well, I think So, what you think they might be trying to get a new left back or get somebody like Alphonso Davies to cover it. Alphonso Davies in that system will be really good, but if they do, they will have to get a really good central back to play with Rudiger. Just for the fact that Alphonso Davies commits too high. Although he's fast to recover, but you want someone that can really fill the space or assist on that left back.
Though.
So
that's really the thing. I mean, like, and an injury is an injury, and you can't just say you can't ignore a problem just because someone's injured.
Yeah,
there's a difference between not having someone on the roster at all for that role and having someone that's injured. But I mean, if they can't play, it doesn't really matter what the difference is there. They do need somebody, but it does feel like Alphonso Davies is kind of like the Liam Gallagher of Europe right now, which I guess would make Liam Gallagher the Liam Gallagher of Europe. But you know what I'm saying, of football. Everyone seems to want a piece of him. Like he and Victor Osimhen really do seem like the two big players coming up for the summer. What do you think about the rumors of City and Madrid kind of battling out for Davies? Who does he fit better with? And
I think he will fit better in City.
Yeah,
I think he will fit better just because of the style of play. In Madrid, I think he will fit better in Madrid. Sorry, not in City. The reason is because I know what City is gonna try to do. They're gonna get this guy, make him enter in the midfield, play some sort of inverted fullback.
Yeah.
Then I don't think that's gonna be good unless Pep Guardiola is also really good at getting the best out of players. But I just think that's what is gonna be happening due to we cannot know Pep Guardiola's system. But if it goes to Madrid, with just how dynamic the players are, so fast, all young, most of them do. Although you can see a clear plan, but the plan on the pitch is not as established as compared to other teams, giving them the leeway to kind of create and do what they want to do on the stadium as far as compared to teams that are really automated.
Yeah. So what about this really fast for City though? Because I wouldn't say it as because right now they have Virgil playing at left back quite a bit, but he's a natural right back.
Yeah.
And that's part of why it doesn't seem like their back line is working the best at times. Also having Nathan Ake in a central role on the opposite side of his dominant foot, that doesn't help things either. And Ake's a good player. He had a bad game this past weekend.
Yeah.
Well, really, he played okay. They were all shaky at the back, but he ultimately had the mistake with his face. But what's going to end up happening sooner rather than later is Kyle Walker won't be the starting right back.
Yeah.
So Virgil gets to go to the right back where he naturally is. Alfonso could be on the left and just have Virgil be the one that runs into the midfield.
Yeah.
Because he's more equipped for that. That's his skill set. He'll be in the system longer. And you can have Davies kind of play that more natural left back, have a 3-man back with him having that extra pace on the wing, not having to really make those decisions. What do you think about that?
If he does that, then I will definitely do Doku as the main guy, not Jack Grealish. And I will tell you why.
It already seems like it's heading that way.
Yeah, not Jack Grealish. Just because one thing, Doku is really fast, really technical. So it's going to be a situation of kind of like Marcelo with Ronaldo, where essentially you can overload the attack by having someone like Alfonso Davies taking care of the whole side due to the fact that he's so fast. But the difference for Marcelo is that he can get back also real quick, so he can recover real quick.
And he was a better defender overall than Davies.
Yeah, so then you will have Doku that's so technical, so fast. There's a good winger that could really enter, break the defense, or attack the box. Then you will have a supporting Davies coming on that same side. That's also really technical, so fast.
Yep.
Then that's gonna be really deadly.
He could perform well at both. In both sides.
One of the games on of this weekend was in the Premier League was Arsenal versus Manchester City. So guess what? The student has finally become the master.
Finally.
So that I think that was the whole idea of this game as for me, because I felt like for once Michael Arteta just make a big statement in the Premier League.
And for the first half, it was you did feel like City was going to get the best of it.
Yeah.
In that second half, it felt the momentum shifted, and it wasn't necessarily because City were playing poorly. It's that you almost felt like they were okay with getting a draw. They kind of just sat back and said, "Okay, we'll take the 1 point. That's fine." And it felt like the Arsenal guys were more willing to take a loss than just shut down and accept the draw. And despite it being my club, being neutral, I like that style. I like that mentality. Not all the time, because that's how you end up moving down the table. But in big situations, I always prefer a side to take those chances, be willing to pay the price.
Yeah.
Because selfishly, it makes the game more interesting, and because it's not a rigged or a predetermined sport, you shouldn't play unsafe just to be entertaining for the fans. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I happen to like that play style. I like that kind of it's almost a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a measured gamble. They're not pulling themselves out of position and making stupid choices, but you can tell that they're really wanting to put that foot forward, and if they get caught, they're willing to accept that.
Yeah.
And that's okay at the end. It's not okay, but they're willing to live with that rather than saying, I wonder if we could have gotten more out of this game.
Well,
I like that personally.
when beating good teams, great teams, these super teams, usually what I like to go for is a situation where it's not 1-0. I want to see total dominance. But looking at the event that went on and how each team is set up, they lack a lot of players that are injured. So, but this was more of a tactical game, right? It's just how Arteta proved to be really tactical, playing against another mastermind, and usually called the master of the chess in modern football, Pep Virgil, right? So one thing that I saw when they started, they didn't over commit. That's what Arsenal did. Not attacking, not over pressuring like they used to, that crazy press. But they didn't also just sit back.
Yeah.
And it was the game management from a manager's point of view, and even from the players, were really, really well done. You can see that he had to predetermine or dictate the game from the sideline, and you can see Arsenal just playing more of a managed game. We do when we can. Yep. We attack when we can. We pass when we see open lanes. We don't overdo it. So that was really good. The other thing is, last year they did not have Declan Rice. Yep. They didn't have Saliba. So Guardiola, because he doesn't have Rodri, KDB, they didn't go wide as they like to go wide. Yeah. It was more of, let's get a little tight in the middle and try to press from or try to get open lanes in the middle. So in the middle attack on the final third of Arsenal. But then Arsenal really saw that what they did. They shut down everything, and it's really good because really you can really see by the fact that someone like Haaland didn't have silent all game. Saliba just pocketing him.
Yep.
And Saliba played so great. I mean, this guy had 100% duel won. He had 76 touches. He had 97% accuracy, pass accuracy, and he had 5 ball recoveries. So that just show you how great they managed the middle and definitely defended as a group overall. And they did that. Now, even in substitution, Arteta usually not good at substitution, but the substitution was really good because all the 4 people that were football players that were substituted, the goal all came from these 4 guys. Mm-hmm. So
he noticed
it was well managed.
He noticed that Walker was getting the best of Trossard. Zinchenko is a little bit light on defense, so Tomiyasu coming in makes absolute sense. And I do think that one of the big decisions, and by the way, you said Saliba wasn't there last season. He was.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
He was, but the melding of Gabriel and Saliba's, it feels a little bit stronger this year.
Yeah.
Despite the defense not feeling as tight overall, they've at least proven that they have to work together. And Gabriel and Raya had some miscommunication at the back. Yes. But one of the big things that I think really made the difference was Jorginho being in the middle and Kai Havertz not being in the start. Kai Havertz did play well. He was the one that ended up laying off the ball for Martinelli. He felt a bit more forward moving, a little bit more active once he got there. But and Jorginho is not the best defender, so having him in the middle of the park was not a way of saying we're going to make sure that we close down and kind of create a triangle between the 2 center backs to ensure that Haaland doesn't get over the top. They didn't have to do that, but they needed somebody a little bit more active in the midfield, as opposed to when someone like Kai Havertz starts. When he tries to float up forward, it feels like it's a 2-man midfield. With that person that goes forward, not really trying to get over to chase down balls over the top or anything. So you kind of have that odd man out. It's almost like you're playing with 10 men at times. I think that Jorginho, despite not doing anything overwhelmingly crazy, he allowed Declan Rice to feel a bit more safe and comfortable distributing the ball. As opposed to having nobody there, Jorginho was at least holding some things down and helping dictate the pace of the game. But once Martinelli came on for Trossard, you can tell that the fresh legs, the pace, and the energy.
Martinelli
wearing them down late
was just amazing.
And at a certain point, even Kyle Walker couldn't quite cope with the quick acceleration.
And you can really tell in the city team, Rodri really, his impact. You could see how impactful he is when he plays, because without Rodri, they have lost 3 games without Rodri. And that just shows you how important Rodri is for the team. Another thing will be the same. They did this in 2018 when Fernandinho was out, 2018-19 season. And they lost, I think, back-to-back games, and this was also a result of Fernandinho not being in. So the midfield, every time Pep has or loses one key player in the midfield, he tries to play tight. But this time around was different because Arsenal understood that if he's playing tight, it means he's going to try to pass through the middle. And guess what? We're going to shut down the middle, and it's going to be difficult for you. And we're not going to overcommit to give you these extra spaces or these extra runs. Then we're just going to be in between the middle. So anytime you try to counter attack, we will set up our lower block, everything. So the game was, in essence, the game was very well managed. Very well managed.
And then on top of it, you have your midfielder that basically was the main reason that your striker won the Golden Boot last year and broke all these records. He's out as well. So in the middle of the park, you're missing your kind of maestro that creates chances, and then your overwhelmingly well-rounded holding midfielder that dictates everything slightly behind the ball. You're missing them both. I think that Rico Lewis is great. He does need someone else with him that has an extremely special skill set in one direction. I think that Rico Lewis is a very well-rounded player. He does many things great, but he needs someone that does particular things very well. He either needs to be paired with Rodri, who can get behind the ball very well, or realistically, what I could see would be him playing well with Kevin De Bruyne.
Kovacic is really interesting because this guy, the ref missed giving him a red card. I don't know how they did that, but that was amazing.
And then he fouls a couple minutes later. That should have been another yellow. Since he somehow got two chances.
This guy is really amazing.
and they weren't exceptional bits of play. They weren't on. They weren't in moments that were very important to keep from conceding goals. They're very odd times for such questionable challenges. Dragging somebody down when they're on a breakaway for the red card, it's not always the best thing, but I understand. It's I get that. Or a very hard tackle and to prevent a very quick counter. I understand it as well. Both of those challenges were very curious in terms of what he thought was the positive outcome was going to be.
So for someone like City or Barcelona, what will be an ideal midfielder coming in? What would that be? Xavi Simons? Are they gonna try to go for Xavi Simons? How do you see him fit or playing, or just being a good fit in either City or Barcelona's squad?
Both kind of miss a little bit of pace. And I think that Xavi Simons he brings it in, especially City. They're really. You've got, Kevin De Bruyne 31? Rodri's 29, 28. But Rodri was never, neither of those guys were speed demons anyway, but these things happen. And so you have Kovacic, who is even less of a speed demon. And I don't think that he's a bad player. I think that he had a pretty poor game. And I think that he kind of shows what he was at Chelsea as well, which is very good and good at most things. But I don't think that he's exceptional in any particular way. And I think to play at City, you have to be exceptional at least one thing. Right? So Xavi Simons could be interesting, and he is legitimately linked to both, right? Wasn't it? I think, or he is definitely... I think he could perform well at both sides. I would think the incentive would be to go to City because the midfield's a bit more in question, whereas Barcelona really seem like they want to nail Gavi down, and when he's fit, Pedri down. They really want to carry those guys into the future, whereas the majority of the midfielders at City are a little bit older. So if you play your cards right, you could be a part of that next project, as opposed to competing with the younger guys just the same that are already in the project, if that makes sense. So I would say he could probably do pretty well at City. I don't know if Kovacic is going to hang around that long. I think that he was sort of an emergency purchase when Gundogan left. But they also never stated, because it would have been ridiculous if they did, that he was going to be a 1-for-1 trade or a 1-for-1 for Gundogan. Their skill sets are different anyway, and the level of quality as a player is very different too. But I could see Kovacic kind of being nowhere near the level of Calvin Phillips. But 2 seasons, maybe out by the end of the third.
But how is Xavi Simons? I will have to look. How is his transition? How is he on transition? How is he on passing? You know, all that will matter in terms of being the next midfielder coming in and just playing like Gundogan or kind of like what KDB. Just because you can tell, like right now, City has it's not obvious when they're overwhelming good when they're playing against teams that not tactically on their level, but when they play teams that are really technically and tactically on their level, it becomes apparent that there's not a good maestro in the middle to be the link-up guy from the defense to the attack, and you can see how there is a big drought on the attacking guys like Haaland to score or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I've always been saying that, you know, somebody like Haaland, he's one of the best finisher, but he's not the player everybody seems to think he is. Just because you can score a goal when you have a good supply, don't mean you're that good.
Well, and they're playing a completely different style as well. They were very silky and smooth, but what made that so dangerous was the quickness.
Yeah.
That they were able to get those difficult passes threaded through.
But there's not someone at the moment that
there's no pace. There's
no
no energy behind it. They still have good link up, but it shuts down because the other sides are able to cope because there's not as much energy behind it. And I think that Xavi Simons, I still need to do more research on him. I haven't been able to watch him as much as obviously because Barcelona and City have watched him.
Yeah, because if you think about somebody like KDB has a lot of long short range passes that when he does that from the back to the attack, it's so easy for, especially since he has his vision on the game. It's amazing what he does. He will thread through these long passes. That will be easier. By the time you try to, or the opposition try to defend, Haaland will. That's how most of the goals came. Haaland will be in front of your goalkeeper.
And I think it's smart that they're going ahead, and I'm not saying that they can, should, or it's even possible to start playing like they did last season again. Because think about it this way. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne comes back in January more than likely, but you can't build a team around him anymore because he's just not going to be there that long.
Yeah.
So you're kind of using this time to figure out what works and what doesn't in his absence.
Yeah.
And then when he does come back in, you tailor the game to him as much as possible without sacrificing what you've built with everybody else. But if a Xavi Simons or anyone else comes in that is think about like if Caicedo had gone there instead. Great player, would probably give that energy in the midfield. Romeo Lavia would be like a lot of energy, a lot of quickness.
Yeah.
Different player though, and you're just not really going to find another midfielder. I can't think of any off the top of my head that are young enough to build a squad around her that has that same vision. That can, like who?
That's true.
Who is a midfielder that can thread those passes, that has that sight, that is under the age of 28, that you would say yes for the next 5 years, 6 years. Like, we are building around you. Like, that player doesn't really exist to me, at least.
Yeah.
And so they're doing the best they can and kind of accepting the premature death of Kevin De Bruyne.
Depends. We'll see what Pep Guardiola has cooking for us. On the other side, Brighton just renewed Mitoma's contract, 5-year deal with Brighton. It's interesting because when I saw the renewal, I wasn't expecting 5 years, just because of how good Mitoma is. One thing that I have been observing on his style of play, and he did 6 years of studying this particular thing, is dribbling. So he has one of the perfect timing on when to cut, when to dribble a defender. It's almost as if he knows before that at this time, this is what I'm gonna do, and it kind of always worked. So I thought, or at least for me, I think this was going to be one of those players that, in the next 1-2 years, he's getting a big contract, going to a big team, playing in the big league.
It's still going to happen, I think. And I think it was very smart for them to both kind of, Mitoma and Brighton as an institution, they both know that he is a better performing player than the club is in terms of their stature. So really they did a smart thing by locking him down on a very large deal because that's going to increase his market value because you're going to buy him out of a larger contract. So,
well, it depends how much is the release clause, though.
Well, I mean, like, they'll still let him go with 3 years on his contract if the money's right.
Yeah.
But they're not going to pay that much if he goes for free, or if he just has 1 year left in the contract. I think Brighton really wanted to ensure that they're going to get the most for him when he leaves, but also understand that he will leave before that contract expires, and he knows that as well. I don't think that the amount of contract time on the contract and subsequently how much money will be required to buy him out is really an issue for either Mitoma or the club. They know that someone's going to come knocking for him, and they will pay for the rest of that contract.
Yeah.
And the club will get more money, and the player will still get a good move. I don't see that as anything but ensuring that everybody gets what they want out of the deal, personally. I could be wrong.
Brighton versus Liverpool. What did you think of that game? Very interesting game.
Yeah.
Just showed us that Liverpool is not Liverpool that it used to be. So there's a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
And also, it also tells us that Brighton has really rose up to be one of those teams that you can't just say, oh, playing against, I'll beat them, you know. But Brighton still have a lot of, you can tell they're still immature in the place because they can score, but
they concede goals too.
Yeah, they concede a lot of goals.
They have a real issue with clean sheets.
Yeah, because of sometimes a lot of bad decision making, emotion getting their best sometimes, and that's what we used to. Arsenal used to have that problem actually of. And that's
things
why
started going wrong. They'll crumble even more as opposed to, and that's what Brighton has really done lately, where they were down at halftime and they did not accept that, despite playing very well in that first half. It's just Mohamed Salah. What are you going to do against Mohamed Salah? That first goal from Liverpool was the 40th minute goal from Salah was that was an amazing team goal. There were 5 or 6 guys involved.
Yeah.
You can't do much against that. Like I watched that goal several times. It was like McAllister to Szoboszlai to Diaz to Nunez to Elliott to Salah. And each pass was perfect.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, like you concede that goal and just accept, like, well, there's no way that they'll be able to do that one again. Kind of like that goal from Lens against Arsenal. It's like, great goal, not too much that we can do. If they score again, it won't be because they did that again. That's for sure. But I do think that Liverpool was they played better in the first bit of that second half. But they slowly allowed Brighton to start creeping in. Their defense is still a bit suspect. Can I talk about Virgil van Dijk for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what do you think about Virgil van Dijk overall, like lately, the last 2 seasons?
Not gonna go to that extent. I'll just stick with this. But Virgil van Dijk lately has been a little bit in the bad decision making as a player and as a defender. There's a lot of things that he does that are incomprehensible. For one, the pass that he sends to what was that? I think it was to Nunez. He wasn't in a position to receive that pass per se. Just because there was someone free, so he couldn't, and Nunez was marked down, but he still sent that pass. As a defender, the Virgil van Dijk of 2018 is not, he's not that guy anymore.
I think that the issue is, I think he's still a good defender. I think what he is refusing to accept is something that all great defenders have to accept, and that's when you lose a step.
Yeah.
He's still, of course you're going to be a little bit more slower, a little bit harder to get up on the ball with the torn ACL and recovering from that injury.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, you have to be better at positioning. Because when he did have that extra step, he was able to very calm and cool. It almost feels like he wants to look cooler than play well. He likes when he was able to stick a foot out and it would perfectly lay down for him on, like, the ball would be killed at his feet, or just one little step in with the shoulder. Like he was able to traverse a good amount of distance without looking like he was doing that much.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to have that calm, cool bit of, he thinks that he has pace that he doesn't have anymore.
Yeah.
And he needs to accept that, every defender, the older that they get, the more injuries that they accrue, they have to change their positioning. He still wants to think that he's in that level of prime. And the thing is, it's not that he couldn't be in his prime, quote unquote, still, if he rearranged how he played. Accepting the fact that you have to play differently does not change the fact that you are in prime. Your quality of performance is what suggests that you are in your prime.
Yeah. No, that's definitely right. Another thing, I think McAllister should play that where he's playing right now. It's better playing at as an 8 than playing as pure defense.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The goal that the what I was talking about is the goal that they considered. It wasn't really McAllister's fault because Virgil van Dijk.
It was a bad pass out of the back.
And he knows better. That's
he had Andy Robertson right there.
Yeah,
and yet he went for a risky. I don't understand that at all.
So that's what I was talking about. So that's overall, I don't think Virgil van Dijk in 2018 will be making those sort of mistakes.
He wouldn't have made that. He wouldn't have made that pass. But then, like I said, also because the other goal, that it went through his legs.
Yeah,
because he lazily stuck a foot out and tried to do what he used to do.
Yes,
and it didn't work. No, you just accept the fact that you have to work harder to get in good positions now. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you still think that you have everything within you that you did 4 years ago, but you have to adapt now.
I see Adinger getting someone buying him off because this player is exceptional. He was the man of the match, Adinger on the right side, the right wing winger for Brighton.
Let's make sure he said.
Yeah, I think he will be getting out of that team. I see Mitoma getting out of that team. I see Baleba.
Who just got there as well.
Yeah, because he's playing good.
He's young. He's young. 19?
Yeah, 19 or something like that. And he is Cameroonian for you guys. So another thing is Brighton has an amazing team and
very cohesive.
Yeah, and they're looking like a money maker right now, money machine right now. Just because I can see all that
for
team
4 years at least.
Yeah,
like they sell all these guys at top dollar, and they mostly perform very well. And when they don't perform very well, it's very rarely solely on that player.
Yes.
They usually go into a system that does not either fit for them personally or in a Caicedo Chelsea circumstance where nobody's playing particularly well underneath that. So it's very hard to judge the player on those circumstances.
Now also Liverpool gotta get it a strong six, a pure six, a good six, someone that will be really set up in that defense.
Speaking of
midfield,
did you see what Caicedo's agent said?
What did he say?
In an interview?
No, I didn't see that.
He said he straight up said this to him. It's pretty wild. Like at a certain point, you're like, you shouldn't say that in public. He said that he regrets the agent, not Caicedo. He didn't put words in his mouth, but he was like, I feel like Liverpool would have been a better option for him based on where they are at in their program, and the skills that Caicedo has. Basically saying, had they known that Chelsea was going to be so all over the place, that he wouldn't have gone there. But it's like, no, you did know that.
Yeah,
we were talking about that. Everybody knew that. That's why we were
Chelsea last year just showed that.
Everybody was like, with Caicedo and Lavia both, like, what incentive do you have to go there right now? It's not guaranteed playing time because they have 85 people on the roster. It's not that they're all in great form because they're not. It's not that you're going to fall into a system that benefits you and your skill set because nobody's able to do that.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that his agent came out with that, I thought was very funny. Like it's like just don't say that. Like everything's great. Just, I don't know. Anyway.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of work to do on Liverpool side. They have to think about start rebuilding.
But the idea is there. Like the concept is there. Whereas Chelsea have no real concept.
As far as Brighton is concerned, it's more of a mentality and also immaturity that kind of gets them doing a lot of mistakes. That's a lot of young players. For Chelsea, I think Chelsea actually, unpopular opinion, I think Chelsea have the best talent.
Well, because they have so many fucking people.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But I like what Real Madrid is doing now. You can see a clear transition from the seniors to the youth. And that's how they're able to still perform at this level. And Madrid of the next year or 2 years, if they could get this little, if they can fill the left back position and they can fill the attack the full strike position,
yeah,
it will be a deadly Madrid that you will have to face. And they doing it so good. You have Modric coming in at time or starting the game at times. You have Toni Kroos coming at times, starting the game at time. Just those
seamlessly
transitions.
being able to take them in and out.
This Carvajal coming at time. It just seems like the transition is well executed.
Yep.
Like people are getting in.
They know they're already working for where they're going to be in 3 years.
Yes.
Like they know exactly where they want to be.
So that's what failed Chelsea, because you can't just change a team like that. You can't have a brand new team in one season. Oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Yep. Well, you have an American businessman. And again, I've said this before, it's not even the fact that he's American. There are Americans that understand the sport. Yeah. But he is a venture capitalist. He does not understand the sport itself.
Yeah.
And so he just thinks because they pump money into it because they've seen that in the past. But what he doesn't understand is that there was thought behind the early 2000s Chelsea takeover where, yes, they were spending a shit ton of money, but they were spending it from up here.
Napoli is looking at getting what? Gabriel Jesus?
Yeah.
Alvaro Morata too?
Alvaro Morata, yeah.
Jonathan David to replace Osimhen contract.
None of those guys, very good players, all of them. They don't do what he does though, and at the level that he does, like that one.
Well, I think Morata can help just because of how good Morata is on attacking.
Yeah. He does have dips in form though.
Yeah, and he's not consistent.
When he dips in form, he dips out for years.
Yeah,
and it's not a bad.
No, that's been his problem. That's why
he's
never been a consistent player. I think that's the one thing that held him back for so long.
Yeah,
is lack of consistency.
And it's one thing. It's one thing to be out of form every 2 to 3 months and come in for a month and play with. Like, no, he's literally had like almost full entire years of being out of form. And that's something that if you're trying to replace someone like Victor Osimhen, like is there room in the squad for him as a squad player? Yeah, there is, because he is good. But you're trying to replace what is essentially going to be one of the two most sought after center forwards in Europe.
Yeah,
with someone like that, with someone like Jonathan David, who has he does well in the French league. There's a gap in quality even from the French league to the Italian league, let alone somewhere else. And then Gabriel Jesus, he's proven he's a very good player. He is just not a number 9.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
He's not
replace a pure number 9.
Yeah, so like you can't replace with that skill set. It's just not possible. So interesting options. None of those feel like they'll make it to the summer. If that makes sense. That feels like a report that kind of gets out. And, it's your job to report on these things as well as journalists. But those don't feel like they have the longevity that in 6 months, that'll still be the top 3 of their desired players.
Well. Looking at the games of last weekend and what are your power rankings? What are your
power rankings? Well, check this out.
Yeah,
check this out real quick. I'm kidding.
And don't also forget that on the German side, which I haven't been able to follow a lot, but just reading bits and news and just on the online, Stuttgart has been doing exceptionally very well.
Crushing it.
Bayern Leverkusen the same. Munich. I think those 3 are really at the top of the game. And in fact, I will go as far to and say this. German football this year, from what I've seen so far, it's becoming really competitive in the sense that it's not just the 2 teams we know. In the Premier League, kind of the same scenario, but the difference is that in the Premier League, we have more teams that are exceptionally or competitively on the level of big teams in terms of you don't really know if City is playing Aston Villa tomorrow, City will be able to win that game.
It's like instead of it being a big 6, it's like a small 10.
Yeah,
seriously, if you look at like who's really worth keeping.
Aston Villa out of nowhere is playing tremendously good.
Yep. Brighton,
Newcastle
Aston Villa, West Ham,
has been
Newcastle.
killing it.
Yeah.
So
you add those onto the big 6. And the ones that you're expecting in the big 6 to play well. I mean, two of your big 6 sides in United and Chelsea are very poor in form at the moment, possibly on an upswing. But Scott McTominay, I'm kidding. No, I mean, hey, 2 goals, played great.
Yeah.
So my top 10 would be number 1, Madrid. 2, Inter.
Yeah.
Because winning is winning. 3, Tottenham. 4 City,
Yeah.
5 Bayern, 6 Arsenal, 7 Barcelona, 8 Liverpool, 9 Leverkusen, 10 Stuttgart.
Stuttgart.
Which is one of my new favorite words to say. Stuttgart. You get the roll on the G.
Yeah.
Gart.
That's interesting.
What do you think about that? Are you impressed?
A little bit. Not all the way.
Not all the way,
but a little bit.
Takes a lot to impress you.
No, it's not really a lot, but I don't necessarily will agree with all
You don't
that.
give praise very, very often.
Nah, I didn't go up like that. But I would say this Bayern Munich is my first one.
Ooh, well.
Yeah, they be winning. It's just too good. They're just too good. They're there, you know.
I would say like the only reason that they're down so far for me is because of how Leverkusen and Leipzig dealt with them. It's like, and again, like they can keep winning all day, but like they're not performing as well as they can, despite Leroy Sané being in very good form lately.
Yeah,
very good form. Anyway, sorry.
I can go with that. I'll do Munich. I will do I don't want to Munich first, Madrid second.
Okay.
I will do Leverkusen third.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. Inter Milan fourth. Then fifth, I will get to. I want to actually put Stuttgart there, but let me do City.
Okay.
Fifth, sixth Stuttgart.
You're going for 10 this time. You're not just doing 5. Oh.
Yes. I'll do 6 Stuttgart. I will do.
All right.
7 Paris Saint-Germain.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't handle that.
Yeah, after all those teams, nobody, 8. Not because Newcastle came and showed us this whole fumble thing. It's not going to happen again. So, what was that? 7 Paris Saint-Germain? 8 will be Barcelona. 9 will be Tottenham. 10 will be Monaco.
Your disrespect for Arsenal there is astounding to me. I can't handle that.
I mean, you lose, you draw, that don't mean nothing to me.
I don't accept that.
Arsenal fan.
We're going to get out of here now.
No, because out of all those people, they have a better record than Arsenal. Well, probably not Paris Saint-Germain because losing 4-0. But overall,
no, 4-1, right?
4-1.
Wasn't it
4-1.
Yeah,
Give them one goal.
4-1.
But overall,
4-1.
Overall, what would you pick? Inter Milan? Tottenham has been winning.
And you have them so low. Okay. I hate this.
Tottenham has been winning, and they have the VAR assisting them too, but they have been winning. Yeah. Actually, I don't think they've lost a game so far, actually. They haven't. Yeah. So,
you know who else has them?
Arsenal, 6-2, win 6, draw 2. Yeah. You know what? Let me do this.
No. It's locked in. It's locked in.
Yeah, that would be difficult though, because I think I have a solid 10. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you not lying to me. All right. Well, that was an astounding episode.
They could be in my top 20.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. All right. Well, let's get out of here before I start getting upset.
Yeah.
Wonderful, hell of an episode, I will say.
Yeah, go subscribe.
And it's not just because I'm involved in it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. But go subscribe, watch everything, turn on the bell notification, comment, do all what you gotta do. And all our links will be in the description. You can follow, do whatever. But this was a great show, and see you next time or next week. Bye.
Goodbye. Spotify star.